a button on them somewhere? Oh, okay, I see where it is on these, okay. I'll try it, bye. A lot.
Like fun.
All right, I'll go ahead and bring this meeting of the Planning Commission to order. First order of business is the roll call.
Chair Wilson.
Here.
Vice Chair Kurth.
Here.
Commissioner Huber.
Here.
Commissioner Porter.
Here.
And Commissioner Dew.
Present.
Thank you.
All right, our first order of business will be, or I guess our second order of business will be doing the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Commissioner Porter and Commissioner Kurth. Please stand.
And bow your heads. Heavenly Father, thank you for the opportunity to assist our leaders in building a better community and providing opportunities for families for better lives. Lead us in truth and teach us by your wisdom. Amen.
All right, our next order of business is the approval of minutes from our July 8th, 2015 meeting.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Dew to approve those minutes, a second by Commissioner Porter. And all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I abstain. I was not here.
Thank you. So those minutes have been approved with Vice Chair Kurth abstaining from the vote. Thank you.
And we'll move to agenda item number 1.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission. Item number 1 is PLN 15-14. It is a request to revoke the minor conditional use permit for the Internet Cafe located at 15329 Palmdale Road, Suite L. This case actually has 2 sections to it. One is the minor conditional use permit, the revocation of that, and then the second part is an appeal of the zoning administrator's decision to revoke the business license. So we have the appellants, the owners of the business, here for you tonight, opposing the appeal and the revocation of the CUP. The Internet Cafe was approved by staff in 2013 with a condition on it that gambling is prohibited. It was kind of a weird time because the sweepstakes aspect of internet cafes was just starting to become popular, and there was a lot of questions on whether it was gambling or not, and there wasn't very many court cases established on it. The idea that the internet cafe was going to be used by people going in to use a computer was not what was happening. They were going in and redeeming buying a calling card, a phone card, and redeeming sweepstakes points off of it in order to play casino-type games on the computers. So that's what the main type of the business was. And then finally, the court case came back that it is in California. California deemed it to be gambling, and therefore this business is not legally operating. Now, the business isn't there currently. It closed down several months ago, and there's another business in this suite. However, staff would like to remove the conditional use permit from it because that runs with the land, and that way no other business can move in and do the same thing as an internet cafe. We did, again, like I said, revoke the business license through the zoning administrator hearing, and they are here to appeal that to you tonight as well. So if you have any questions, staff supports the revocation. Okay.
Isn't the business license based upon the location also?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. They would need to get a new business license to operate somewhere else in the city.
And this CUP is directly related just to that suite, correct?
Correct. They can move out and somebody else can move in and use that CUP. When I say it runs with the land, that's what I mean. When you approve a conditional use permit, unless there's a specific condition that says it only applies to them, or some other type of condition that says it's only valid for a certain period of time, a conditional use permit runs with the land for that use, not the owner, not the person who gets it approved.
Okay. All right. Any additional questions? All right. I will go ahead and open up the public comment in regards to item number 1. If you would please fill out a little white card. If you don't have one with you, if you could please fill one out when you're done and hand it to the clerk, just so we have all your pertinent information. I would appreciate it.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Monica Romalo, and I am the attorney for CyberCall 888, the appellants in this matter. Thank you for taking the time to hear this appeal and our arguments on this issue. Just to give a little bit of a further background on this business. Prior to January 1st, 2015, CyberCall did operate a business that sold phone cards, and it promoted those phone cards through a sweepstakes in which you'd buy a phone card, and along with the phone card you'd get sweepstakes entry points that you could use to one of 3 ways actually. One, you could just ignore the sweepstakes points and use your phone card. The second is you could go to the clerk and ask them what your winnings were on the sweepstakes points. Or third, you could play entertainment games in the business, and through those games have your winnings revealed to you. But the winnings were all predetermined based on a finite pool of prizes that was created before anyone ever played the game. It was very much like any of the Monopoly sweepstakes, the Coca-Cola My Rewards sweepstakes, tons of other sweepstakes that are used by, I think, most businesses that sell food or consumer products. At that time, the law in California regarding whether or not these sweepstakes were legal was, one, that sweepstakes in California are generally legal as long as there is a free method of entry. And in which case we did have a free method of entry. And 2, the issue of whether or not you could have the sweepstakes results revealed to you through a computer. The law on that issue stated that as long as the computer itself or the machine itself didn't incorporate an element of chance into the machine, that it wasn't necessarily a slot machine. So that our position was that these sweepstakes were legal and the method of revealing the sweepstakes through these computer entertainment games was legal. And that was based on a case called Trinkle 2. And these businesses were modeled after that. The elements of a slot machine and what is legal and what is legal sweepstakes under that law. In January 2015, the California legislature enacted a law, or it actually came into effect in January, putting a limit on those sweepstakes games. It's saying that while we recognize these games, sweepstakes are legal, we are prohibiting them unless they're being used for seasonal promotional sweepstakes. Much like McDonald's Monopoly runs for a certain period of time. I think it's 2 or 3 months. So it's beginning January 1st. And again, I want to emphasize that the entire time we've been fully transparent with what we are doing in these businesses. I believe the owners, my clients' husbands, they're now the widows of the former owners that are continuing with the business, met with city representatives to explain the business, completely transparent, and why we thought it was legal under the law. And along those lines, in January, we switched to a single seasonal promotional sweepstakes. It ran from January 1st to March 31st. And once that sweepstakes was over, it was over. And we switched our business model and started offering customers games of skill, which I'll get to in a second. So, so beginning January 1st, we complied with the new law, limiting the amount of time that you can have these kinds of promotional sweepstakes, with the idea that possibly in the following year we could run it again as another seasonal promotional sweepstakes. However, in June of 2015 of this year, just a few weeks ago, the California Supreme Court declared that these kinds of sweepstakes games were illegal. And we've stated in all our papers that once the Supreme Court decided the issue, and it shows how convoluted of an issue it was, given that it had to go all the way to the California Supreme Court to be decided. Once we received that ruling, we decided, and we were very upfront with the city, that we are not, we had no intention of renewing these seasonal promotional sweepstakes. What we had been doing was, after April 1st, 2015, is offering clients or customers games of skill. And the California legislature specifically carves out an exception for gaming when the game is, the ability to win a prize is governed predominantly by skill or by skill. And specifically, California Penal Code, Section 330.5, specifically exempts games of skill from the definition of a legal slot machine, stating that pinball and other amusement machines or devices, which are predominantly games of skill, are not included within the meaning of a slot machine. So what we offer, or what we were offering after April 1st, were these games of skill. And they were much like the kinds of games that one would find at Chuck E. Cheese. I don't think you have them here, but the Dave & Buster's, a family fun center, many carnival games, all include these games of skill. When I met with Mr. Borchert previously, I told him that I could bring in a sample of how the game is played. If it's possible, I have a video now that explains exactly how they work, if you don't mind me presenting it.
On what media?
I have a computer, so I might have to show it to you a few times so that you'll be able to see it.
Okay, maybe you could explain how this applies to this location where you're arguing for.
Okay. The way that the reason it applies is I think that you are revoking the license and the conditional use permit based on activities that were not occurring at the time of the revocation. So our position is that at all times we've been complying with the laws. When we were operating in 2015, our business model was modeled after the definition of a slot machine as defined by the law at that time. Specifically, the case is Trinkle 2, and it's in my papers. I won't bore you with the citation, but it's in the papers. Once the law changed in 2015, we again continued to comply with the statute in that we limited the sweepstakes to it was a seasonal promotional sweepstakes that went on for a limited time. Now that, and then once that ended, we moved to the games of skill, which were legal. And then once Gruel came down, we expressed that we have no intention of continuing with the sweepstakes games. However, at the time at the last time that the business was operating, it wasn't operating the sweepstakes. It wasn't engaging in any illegal activity that would be grounds for revoking the license or the conditional use permit.
I guess the question is, you've left that suite. You don't plan to move back into that suite. You don't plan to operate an internet cafe. You plan to offer games of skill next. So I guess the question is, they're here to see why they shouldn't revoke a conditional use permit that's in that location only, for that location only, and a business license that's for that location. If you are saying that you want to apply for another business license in the city, we'll take a look at that business license separately, but not before the planning. The planning commission doesn't even need to hear that. We can do that staff-wise and move forward on another location or another business license. So they're only here to hear why they shouldn't revoke the permit tonight.
Well, I think if your position is that we're no longer there, then why would we be, and why would we be having to go through the process of revocation? I mean, if you see the need to revoke the permit and the license, then I think we have standing to object.
Sure,
to that.
Absolutely, and I explained the reason why we want to remove the conditional use permit, whether it's you or somebody else going in there. We don't want somebody else going in there, but we're calling it an internet cafe, and you think you're kind of headed where we talked about maybe an arcade, or it might be something different than even an internet cafe. I don't.
Yeah, my concern, I understand where you're coming from. I understand what you're saying. What we're looking at is in relation to that particular suite with the CUP that goes with that particular suite, irregardless of their position, they're not there at the moment, or they're not there anymore, but we're looking at revoking the CUP for that particular suite so that another internet cafe or similar type business would not be able to go back into that suite. Is that correct? I mean, that's how I'm understanding it. So I don't believe we're actually going anything against them per se. It's more so the CUP relating to that particular suite and making sure that something else doesn't go back in there.
There could be some argument to be made that when we approve the next business license, it happens to be a medical marijuana evaluation clinic in there. When we approve that got rid of the CUP, that somebody else would have to come in for a CUP. However, we wanted to take the extra step of revoking it just to make sure that in case that couldn't be an argument. So if you'd like her to continue, we can, or I can provide staff's responses, but why don't you go ahead and finish up, I guess.
Okay, just to respond a little bit further to that, it leaves my clients in the position of, we would like to have the issue addressed, because it leaves my clients in the position where if they want to open another store, they have to enter into a lease to get a business license and then seek a conditional use permit for that specific store. If we're going to be in a situation where the conditional use permit is going to be denied, then my clients will have gone through all those expenses just to have a conditional use permit and a business license denied on grounds that I think could be addressed here.
I don't believe that would.
And I should say that we are open to seeing their product, seeing the next iteration of the gaming, and we've talked to the Sheriff's Department. They would like to see it as well, and we even contacted the Department of Justice Gambling Control Board, and they would like to be involved in that as well. So we can certainly set up a time where we can meet and go over the next proposal and then determine whether it's legal or not. And once it's determined that it's legal, then you wouldn't even come back before the Planning Commission. It would be approved by staff with a business license, or maybe a minor conditional use permit, depending on what we're calling the use.
Okay, can I have 1 second to confer with my clients? Sure. Another issue that we have is that if the business license is revoked, when my clients reapply for a business license, it's going to be in their history that a business license was revoked from them. That is why we do have a little bit of an issue of having the license be revoked. It clouds, I think, their name.
That would be something that the Planning Commission could do in their motion of the action that you take tonight would be not to what's the wording? Not to put that stigma or that, there's a word for it. I can't think of it right now. There you go. Not prejudice the decision, not prejudice any future applications by the applicant.
Okay, would we be able to make clear that as far as the conditional use permit and the license is to be revoked, on the record saying that it's not without prejudice to my clients in any future applications for business license, and also based on the fact that the original license was to run a sweepstakes, which has now been deemed illegal under the new law issued by the California Supreme Court, and not based on their running of the games of skill.
Staff supports that.
I wouldn't have an issue with that.
Okay, if we could put that on the record and have that be the finding and the ruling, we would be agreeable to that.
Would that be proposed in the motion? Is that correct?
I have a question.
Yes.
How do you define without prejudice if a business owner has a track record? Because I think it's standard procedure go by people history or track record. I'm willing to assess current behavior or look at something anew, but I just don't find that I could ignore totally a track record or an incident previous or in violation. If there is some sort of redeemable effort, let's say for example, if someone was placed on probation for 90 days or 180 days and there was no problem, I think there's a need for track records. I value that. So that doesn't mean that person cannot change their behavior or a mistake was made.
If I
just wanna
might
express
comment with regard to what she stated, they did do their homework. They did come in. They even sat through another hearing for a different internet cafe, listened to the conditions of approval, watched what was going on, were constantly in touch with staff as they were processing and coming through the conditional use permit and the business license process to make sure that they were legal. At the time, like I said, it was a very cloudy issue, and they were. So that's why staff support. They have been very good to work with. They, like I said, they were doing this because they thought it was legal. They thought it was a good business choice to make. It turned out not, but it wasn't. They, like I said, they did their homework, and staff has no issues with saying we shouldn't prejudice them.
I understand. Yeah, and reading through your response in here, I kind of picked up on what you were trying to convey.
Yes,
so
it's
I
very
do
wordy.
understand
but,
that. Yeah. All right, any additional questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak to this item? And I'll go ahead and close public comment and bring it back to the commission.
You guys want me to take a crack at it?
Please do.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I'll go ahead and make the motion to adopt Resolution P-15-027, thereby revoking conditional use permit AMD 13-00006 based upon the violations of the Victorville Municipal Code and California Business and Professionals Code, and adopt Resolution P-15-028 denying the appeal and thereby revoking the business license BSL 13-00212 based upon violations of the Victorville Municipal Code and the California Business and Professional Code. And while taking both the revocations into consideration, those should be considered without prejudice, whereas the original use was a sweepstakes, and the next intent and possible future intent may be just games of skill. And I would like to say that the without prejudice shall mean that any future dealings with the city, that the applicant shall not be prejudiced against because of this past business license.
I'll second that.
Okay.
All right, we have a, a motion by Vice Chair Kurth, a second by Commissioner Dew to revoke the minor conditional use permit, deny the appeal, and uphold the decision of the zoning administrator to revoke the business license without prejudice to the clients for future application. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that's, thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on to agenda item number 2.
Thank you, Chairman Wilson. Item number 2 is case PLN 15-00013. It is a conditional use permit to allow for the continued operation of a filled dirt, base material disposal, and reclamation site, as well as the storage that includes refining, screening of dirt and base material, and a site plan to allow for a contractor storage yard. This is located on the south side of D Street, approximately 600 feet southeast of Air Expressway. The staff became aware of the operations through code enforcement, and code enforcement made planning staff aware that there was no entitlements on the site. So the applicant was required to rectify these issues by applying to the Planning Commission to make the uses legal. The underlying zoning is an M2 heavy industrial district, which does allow these type of uses with a conditional use permit. Staff considers the operations to be transitional, where minimal improvements to the site would be needed, with a thought process that in future decades that the site would develop and that the city would obtain their street improvements. Currently, there is soil screening operations taking place on the north end of the site, and on the south end of the site, there's stockpiling of rock, sand, concrete, and asphalt material. The conditions that are proposed today would provide structure to the hours of operation, noise limitations as far as the scope, and also the scope of where product can be stored and what type of product would be stored as well. There is an add-on to your agenda today, and it's a proposal to revise site plan condition number 7. This would change the condition to remove the requirement for a wrought iron fence along D Street and replace it with just a requirement to gate the entries. So that is for your consideration, and with that, staff supports the proposal, and we're here if you have any questions.
Any questions? Okay, I'll go ahead and open up the public comment section for item number 2. If anyone wishes to speak to item number 2, would you please come forward? All right, hearing none, I'll go ahead and close public comment for item number 2.
Yes, I have a comment here. I was out there a couple times today, up on the hill, back and forth, and it seems to me that you're recommending that existing small block wall be demolished. But to me, that would be a deterrent for people to drive over the land, to drive a car inside that property. And as far as gates, what good would be a gate be when you got 35 acres they can drive in any place? So I would recommend to eliminate item number 7 entirely. It's been operated there for 25 or 30 years. I understand longer than that. And nothing is being used except a quarter of a mile away. So I see no reason to have any type of a fence or tear the block wall down or anything. It seems just ridiculous for us to do that.
I had a question. Were they in support of going ahead and putting in an access gate? Or was there a concern?
I believe so. I think the applicant's here if they want to speak.
Go ahead and reopen public comment.
Hi, I'm Joe Miller. I'm J. Miller Associates, and this is the owner, Don Cooley. We had earlier gotten in touch with the staff planner.
Ask you to come to a little bit more to the mic or pull it over to you a little bit, just so we can have that mic.
Yeah, we'd earlier got in touch with staff planner about the wrought iron fence component and whatnot, and we had basically said before maybe controlling access with with a gate and whatnot, and have it open during business hours and whatnot, and then so that's where the memorandum came. And since then, what Mr. Huber said, as far as that existing 2-foot high block wall, it's along the front of it. I don't know if you have any pictures or whatnot to put up there, but it's been there for when the trailer court was there. It's been there for 50 years. But what it does is it does detour the people that are going up and down the road from gaining access to the property. My client doesn't have any problem taking it down, but on the other side, it does serve a purpose as it sits. So that would be all I'd have to say.
Okay. Any questions?
As far as any kind of gates on those driveways, is that of benefit to you as property owner or not? Is that just a demand from the city that you'd rather not? Is there any purpose for it or
What do you think?
Justification
as far
for
as
you?
putting those gates up? Is it just like would just be a condition of approval from the city, or would it be something that you'd think that would benefit you as a?
Well, it hasn't benefited us yet. We have
So you've got something up in place right now, and it's doing what it's supposed to do.
I don't want people
Okay.
tried to keep it our work, that's the area.
Thank you.
Would the removal of that fence, would that do anything to the gas line that is near it? Commissioner Huber said that there is a gas line near the block wall.
Gas line running perpendicular to D Street.
Okay.
It doesn't come, the main gas line does not come close there. Gas company and we talk all the time and watch that no one digs in that area. I'd be happy to show you the gas line and how we've protected it. The gas company is very happy with it.
Yeah, I think we had a picture that showed there you've got steel pipe perimetering the gas line. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Guys want to come and take a look? I'll gladly show you.
Appreciate that. All right. I'll go ahead and reclose public comment.
Chairman Wilson,
Yes.
I'll move to adopt the attached mitigation negative declaration for the project and adopt resolution number P-15-03, run approving the conditions use permit portion, case number PLN 15-00013, and eliminating condition number 7. Adopt resolution number P-15-032, approving the site plan portion of case number PLN 15-00013. And maybe the applicant could take the weeds in front of that block wall and make it look nice. You got two nice pillars, and block wall on each side, maybe you could take one of your graders and clean that up, make it look nice.
I'll second that if you're through with the motion.
Second, I'm through with the motion.
All right. We have a motion by Commissioner Huber to approve this project with removal of condition number 7. We have a second by Commissioner Porter. I'll call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That project has been approved, the neg deck and the removal of condition number 7 from the conditions of approval.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on to agenda item number 3.
Item number 3 is a request for continuance. The applicant's requesting it continues to the October 14th hearing.
I'll go ahead and open public comment for item number 3. If anyone wishes to speak to that item. And then I'll go ahead and close public comment. And do we need a proposal to move?
If you're ready to
We need a
just
proposal
make a
to
motion
a
to
motion?
continue.
Okay, I'll go ahead and make a motion to postpone this item to October 14th, 2015 meeting.
Second.
So we have a first by Chair Wilson to continue this to the October 14th regular meeting of the Planning Commission, seconded by Commissioner Huber. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So that item will be continued to October 14th.
Thank you. And agenda item number 4.
Thank you, Chairman Wilson. Item number 4 is case PLN 15-00021. It is a site plan to allow for a 3,050 square foot retail bakery and drive-through with an environmental exemption. This is located on the southeast corner of Roy Rogers Drive and Civic Drive, specifically between Panda Express Restaurant and In-N-Out Restaurant. The applicant's requesting this proposal. It's a simple site plan approval. There's no conditional use permit requirement for the drive-through since it's outside of 100 feet from our residence. The proposal meets all municipal code requirements. Staff recommends approval as conditioned.
All right. All right, I'll go ahead and open up public comment for agenda item number 4. If there's anyone here who wishes to speak to the item. I appreciate that.
Good evening. Mike McFarland with Tate & Associates for the applicant here. Just wanted to thank Scott for his attention to detail on this, getting this approved and help the process as quickly as possible. There's no objections to any of the conditions of approval. And the architect is also here in case you had any questions on the building materials or anything on the elevations.
All right, thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak to this item or any questions? All right, I'll go ahead and close public comment and bring it back to the commission.
Mr. Chairman,
Mm-hmm.
I would like to make a motion if there's no more questions. That I move to adopt Planning Commission Resolution P15-037, approving case number PLN 15-00021, and find the project categorically exempt under CEQA.
Oh, and second that?
Second. I'm sorry, you seconded it?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Porter, a second by Chair Wilson. I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? There not being any opposition, that project has been approved.
Thank you. And agenda item number 5.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item number 5 is PLN 15-22. It is a request to allow for a home-based massage business from an accessory structure on a residential property located at 12390 Triple Tree Terrace. The request, as we mentioned, is accessory structures in the rear yard, and it used to be kind of like a hobby shop or a workshop, and she intends to convert one of the rooms to be able to do massage there. We have conditioned the project for your approval, but we were waiting for hearing if there was any public outcry. We did have one letter recommending that the permit be denied, and because well, I'll just leave it as stated in your packets. You have that in your additional packets tonight, and we also provided you a map of where the comment comes from, where that person would be living. With that, home occupations are typically approved by staff as long as they don't have customers coming to the site or they don't have signage and things like that. And when they want to do one of those things, then it requires the Planning Commission approval. It's a different review process. That's why this is before you tonight, to allow clients to come to the home. So with that, staff will go ahead.
I was just, it seems to me that the original concept of a home occupation permit was not to have a commercial enterprise. It was for taking in typing, for maybe doing an occasional hairdo or doing something to supplement your income, but it wasn't ever meant to be a full-time process that would compete with our commercial. And it seems to me that this is almost a full-time
Yeah, I don't
situation.
know. I believe the applicant is here and can tell you how much. Yeah, I don't know whether it's a full-time or a part-time operation or not. But
Okay. I'll wait for his testimony.
all right, sure.
Well, with that, I'll go ahead and open up public comment for agenda item number 5. Yes, please. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you all for your time tonight. My name's Steve Richard, architect and representative for the applicant. My address 16048 Tuscola Road, number 6, in Apple Valley. And I'm here tonight to answer any questions you might have.
Well, you heard my comment. Do you, is this going to be a full-time thing for her?
This is an older couple who are looking to kind of consolidate the world a bit. She has a practice in Apple Valley. They own a couple homes, one in Victorville, one in Apple Valley. She's the caretaker of her husband. It's an older couple. And she intends to simplify her world by occupying the detached garage for the home business. She has a limited clientele. She expects to have 2 to 3 appointments a day at max. Sometimes that might be 1 a day. It will always be by appointment, and they will, according to her, it will never be stacked as far as patients waiting or clients waiting. Regarding the gentleman's comment, the neighbor's issues with this thing, this is a friend of the family. I was referred to her by my wife, who's one of her clients, so there may be bigger problems that I know of based on another guy's complaint. That being said, this is a pretty solid family, and she's very earnest about what she wants to do. The setting is in the back of the property, so there won't be any visual or any aesthetic problems with parking or anything on the neighborhood. And from what we can tell from the entitlements that are available for home occupation permits, it looks like it's an entitlement that's possible based on your guys' review and discretion.
Any additional questions?
Yes. Yes, Mr. Chairman, I appreciate the comments of Commissioner Porter. My sense is that we have a number of unoccupied properties for small businesses within the city of Victorville. I'm not convinced that this does not poses a safety threat as relates to neighbors, maybe possibly school children. A number of things can happen, and as you already know, I believe massage parlors was something that was placed on our list of problematic businesses, if I'm not mistaken. So, with that said, with those businesses being in an office, I find it hard to accept the fact that this would be something placed in a home. It may be a convenience to a deserving couple, but nevertheless, it could pose as some sort of threat to the community. It's my sense that people, it's not that they don't feel safe, that's why we have law enforcement, but I do get the greatest sense that people or individuals do not feel safe enough. So,
Just for a reference,
Mhm.
she has a 10-year professional therapy over at the Apple Valley Inn. She's been there and is well respected in the community. So while I appreciate the concerns about what we have to look about for nefarious or negative things going on, I want you to be assured that this is not one of them.
I would ask you this question. Is the person a physical therapist?
She's a massage therapist.
She's not a chiropractor?
No, sir.
I have a medical background from the United States Air Force, and if that was the case from an occupational standpoint, occupational therapy, I just find that this is my view regarding safety, and that's a challenge for the city of Victorville as well as other municipalities, and I just can't ignore that factor.
I appreciate that. I think the other thing that happens in today's age is folks are aging, and we're living in a different economic time. Folks are looking to kind of consolidate their worlds in this way, and it's a byproduct of that. I can assure you that these folks are top drawer.
I appreciate your testimony today.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Commissioner
Mr. Chairman. Yield
Thank
back.
you. Any additional questions, comments? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
I'll go ahead and close public comment.
I have I guess a major problem. You know, we approved a lady to have piano lessons. There's a heck of a lot of difference between a massage place and a piano lesson place. We're trying to, I agree with Mr. Drew, we're trying to clean up the city. If we allow these people that are probably great people and do a great job, but where do we draw the line for the next massage parlor or place wants to come in? How are we going to stop that? So I am definitely opposed of us allowing this to happen. Where are you going to draw the line?
I understand what you guys are saying. A little bit different for me, though, because I kind of look at it as, Commissioner Dew, you made a good point. Hey, shouldn't this business, if this is a real business, shouldn't be out on the street, and shopping center business, what have you. But, with my experience, I know there's a world of difference between going out, dropping $100,000, even on a very small lease for your signage, your permits, your employees, your insurances, and all that stuff. And then you got somebody like this lady, which my mom did back in Wisconsin. She had her massage therapy license. She didn't really feel safe going into other people's homes. She wasn't going to start up a big major shopping center massage place. She was becoming unretired, and she enjoyed it, and she had the mobile stuff. She was going to go to other people's houses, didn't feel safe doing that, so had friends, family, neighbors, past customers, very limited basis, come to the house in a quiet room and get their massage. This is a big difference to me in this situation as going out, hey, you should be in a shopping center. Piano lessons, hey, the piano makes noise. At least this is a quiet use, and it's in a structure sitting in the back of their yard. I see where they're going with this. I don't really have any problem with it, as long as the conditions say you won't know it's there. Somebody might park a car in the driveway and go in there, but a friend might do that as well. The only question I had, Chris, if the conditions did happen to be approved, is it typical that we put hours of operation on the conditions?
It can be, yeah, and different types of uses, sure.
I'm feeling. I personally feel pretty confident with this use and and minimal impacts on the neighborhood. But I would think maybe it would be better to be a little bit tighter. So if anybody ever asked, hey, are they giving massages at 2 a.m? No, they have, reasonable hours. I would think that might be.
They, in their application, they're requesting or stating Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. closed holidays.
I read that.
If you want to restrict more than that, then that's up to you.
In this case, is the application part of the conditions, or is it the conditions stand alone?
The conditions stand alone unless you modify them.
Yeah. So without the condition specifically saying it, just because Mr. Richards wrote it in a letter, doesn't mean they're limited to those hours.
Correct.
That's just projected.
And I understand what Commissioner Dew and Commissioner Huber are saying also in regards to this, but I can only speak from my past experience of even where I go to get massage. Currently, it's in a single room in a mixed-use building, but it's, again, one person in there at a time, nothing odd going on, and there would be, in my opinion, no difference than going to what they're proposing here. It's a very similar setup with that. Also going with what Commissioner Kurth said, understanding that, and also from the applicant's representative, of trying to downsize a business that's been well established in Apple Valley for 10 plus years. I get a full understanding of both sides. So I do like your proposal of adding into the conditions, making sure that we have it stipulated about the Monday through Friday, 9 to 4, and closed on holidays, so that there is no question on it in the future. And that's what I have to say in regards to this.
In this rare case here, it sounds like maybe a few of us are kind of way to the left and a couple might be way to the right. I don't want to jump in with a motion right away and get it denied. Is there any more discussion, medium on this, or is it going to end up being agree to disagree?
The same thing is where do you draw the line of when you say no? The next person a month from now comes in and wants the same type of thing. How are you going to deny it? And
It
are
was
we
just
trying
like
to
this. I
clean
don't know
up the
what-
city? Isn't there different businesses that we're trying to control in the city of Victorville?
If it was
Why
just
do
like
we
this, I
even-
wouldn't look to deny it. But if it was a home occ, which is suited for a home, but it had any of the attributes of, hey, we're going to have more than one person coming in here. We might have signage. There might be noise. There might be smell. There might be cooking. There might be, no, that's not. If my idea for home occ is, you better not know it's there.
Well, but don't you think people will know this is happening? I'll guarantee you. And you'll have more people coming to City Hall wanting permits for this. So.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Yes.
When I say that there's a safety concern, I can't see a part-time police officer or law enforcement being in the home. I can't see video cameras to have good descriptions or identification of individuals. We've moved into a different era today where safety is something that we have to grasp and get a hold of. It's happening every day around in America. So I don't see how we can take a blind eye to safety, even for the safety of the individual who is providing the service. What is to say some perpetrator will enter the home and harm them? I do not want that on my conscience. I think this is something can be prevented. I feel for the people who want to establish their business, but nevertheless, safety is first and foremost, as relates to children, as relates to families, as it relates to everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you need a motion?
We need a motion.
I will move the denial of the adoption of Resolution P 15038.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Porter to deny this application, a second motion by Commissioner Huber. I'll call for the vote. All in favor of denying this
Aye.
action?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay, so that with the majority vote, this application has been denied. The applicant has 10 days to appeal this decision of the Planning Commission to the City Council.
And for the record, that was based on safety of the neighbors, clientele, and the owners, as well as setting precedents for future massage establishments.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Thank you.
All right. Move on to agenda item number 6.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item number 6 is DV 15-7. It is a request by the City of Victorville Building Department inside the Development Department. It is to meet state law requirements for solar rooftop solar for residential systems and make sure that the city of Victorville expedites the permitting of them. We support approval.
And I'll go ahead and open up public comment in regards to agenda item number 6. And seeing no one, I'll go ahead and close agenda item number 6. Bring it back to the commission. Any questions? All right, then I'll go ahead and make a recommendation that the City Council find that the code amendment exempt pursuant to section 15061B, subsection B, subsection 3 of CEQA, and adopt resolution P-15-039 recommending City Council approval of case number DEV 15-00007.
Second.
We have a motion by Chair Wilson, second by Commissioner Huber to approve this, to recommend approval to the City Council of this item. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that will be recommended to the City Council.
All right. In compliance with the Brown Act, it is necessary for the Planning Commission to make available time for members of the public to address the Planning Commission on items of interest that fall within the Planning Commission's subject matter jurisdiction. Please limit the length of your comments to 3 minutes. And seeing no one, we'll move on to agenda item number 7.
Thank you, Chairman Wilson. Item number 7 is a proposal that would regulate existing off-sale alcohol and tobacco retailers. Over the past 12 months, the Planning Commission and City Council have moved to adopt regulations on off-sale establishments for alcohol and tobacco, strengthening the restrictions that the municipal code currently had. Those would affect existing businesses. Those would affect future businesses that haven't established yet. There are tools available that the city hasn't entertained yet that would regulate existing establishments that were adopted without any conditions of approval, that some of which are a nuisance to the community that would sell. Recently, we've had tobacco stores that would sell spice, sell drug paraphernalia. We've also had issues with selling alcohol to minors, signage issues, loitering. The list goes on and on, but there's tools that are available to the city. It is a more complex ordinance if the city would move forward with it, since it would establish a fee on the establishments for the enforcement and with the routine inspections of these facilities. In the workshop, the staff presented to you a map that the Sheriff's Department has provided that shows a correlation between nuisance crimes and the location of off-sale alcohol retailers. And with that, the Sheriff's Department is willing to support this proposal and move forward with workshops on this if the city so chooses. There's currently 83 alcohol off-sale establishments and 90 tobacco retailers in the city. So there is a significant number that this would affect. So it would take some time to walk through this process with them. And we just want to get the facts out there for you if you're wanting to pursue it.
Appreciate that. Is this an item we have to open up for public comment?
That's up to you. It's not a public hearing, but if there were anyone here who wanted to speak,
Exactly.
you
Well,
could.
just want to make sure I don't break a formality.
You know, if you would have a fee for this, if you would have a fee of $500 and you had 90 retailers out there, you'd only be making $45,000 a year, wouldn't even pay a person to oversee this. I hate to see existing enforcement people. Again, being in business, we're taxed to death.
I'm with you, Terry. Larry, one more tax, and it looks to me just like it's like the residential one, right?
I agree we need something done here, but talking about fees for somebody, and I look at some of the other cities that have these enormous $1,500 I don't know if that's per year or what it is, but yeah, it has to be per year. 1,500, 16, 5,000. It's not feasible. So I think we need to see what could be done, certain performance standards that could be done that wouldn't cost us an arm and a leg, that could be done. I don't know if there's, maybe you could, I don't know, have a person drive by these areas and see if they're cleaning up, because I know some of them are pretty cluttered.
This is good discussion, and where you're headed would be, you start with a lower fee, a much lower fee, and if they're a good property owner, then they keep that low fee or something, and then if they get fines or they get caught selling alcohol to underage, they get a high fee, or we start revocation. That's kind of what I think Scott's saying, is working through the how an ordinance would work and how we would want it to work for our city, are what we would need
I think
to
it needs to be
discuss.
talked about. I think the city council and the plan commission should somehow get together and talk about this instead of us talking about it and then they come back and say, well, I don't like that and
Yeah.
whatever. But I think it should be discussed.
I believe doing it in a joint workshop would be the best.
Tobacco is part of our problem, the overall picture.
Absolutely.
I agree with you, Larry, and this is part of that presentation that we had the gentleman here a while back, right?
Yes.
And I had a little bit of a hard time kind of getting a grasp on what that was. And, you know, I'm all for if there's other tools and mechanisms. I'm not for throwing another tax on businesses to help police, but if that's what it takes to get the police bodies out there, you know, for me, I see it's mostly the larger. It's any place that has a larger propensity of customers or bodies, whether it's liquor or 99 cent or whatever. That's where the panhandling, that's where a lot of the problems are. I just wish there was a way that our existing police and code enforcement could do that. If they can't, then the alternative is to then charge certain businesses, so maybe we have enough enforcement. But like you said, probably not, and that's why I brought up the residential rental program. That doesn't generate much money. Is that going to fix problems? Is that really going to get all those guys out there? I don't know. But we didn't have a joint meeting, I don't think, with the city council on that one either, did we? On the residential rental. In this case, if the planning commission said, no, we didn't want to look at this. We don't care. City council might say, what do you mean you don't even want to look at it? I think we should at least look at it and see if it's something worthy.
But I agree with you, Mr. Borchard, because I think that if we start off with a low fee and those who violated, that it goes up. You're going to get a lot of them. You're going to get their attention. And I think that's really what we want to do, is get their attention.
We can't now, though, with the fines and code enforcement and slap them
A
down?
lot of this is regulated by Bureau of Alcohol and Tobacco, right? Or the local county?
Both specifics. I mean, the city does have ordinances in place that we could go after, trash in the parking lot, possibly the loitering, depending on what degree, but not very well. I think what they've done in the past for a lot of these is to establish a fee. But you can see there's a couple cities on there, no fee. I mean, if the city of Victorville decides not to fee them, we don't fee them, and we try. Maybe they're just providing a structure and an ordinance which gives code enforcement better teeth to go after somebody who's violating, or a major violator. We can revoke a business license or something. That's, I think, what's important. We have a lot of, like Scott said, we have a lot of alcohol and tobacco establishments in the city, and we need to do something.
If you're downtown a lot, you can see the police are having problems at liquor stores. And all the things that we got on agenda for people to where the crime is, you can see that if you're a resident of downtown, which I am. Every day, I saw it today, parked in front of a liquor store, having problems, money laundering places. You see the police there. Mm-hmm. Pawn shops. Yesterday there was the police in front of the pawn shop up there. All taking time out of their job.
Maybe we could establish a city fine for those who violate that. I mean, and so you already know which ones to look out for, and the police department is giving you a report on it. So, once we decided that we're going to put in our ordinance, then maybe a hefty fine for every
Well-
violation. Then it pays for somebody to go out there.
Well, and it falls right in line with Commissioner Dew's prior comments of public health and safety. It falls right in line with all of that. I would say that probably would be a benefit to at least hold a joint workshop with City Council to make sure that we are all on the same page in what we're looking to accomplish, so there's not a question of it, and then move forward, because I think it would be a benefit for the entire city to get something that at least has some teeth, depending on which mechanism we decide to go with or how we decide to structure it, but making it overall just to be a benefit for the overall community, general health and safety.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
first of all, I think this is a great discussion that we're having, and I think it would be beneficial if each person were to come up with maybe 2 to 3, possibly 5 pros and cons, one way or the other, before we get to give those things to the City Council, because I think by the time you're on City Council or elsewhere, I think unless you're intimately involved, as we are engaged monthly, if not more than that, because it is our responsibility to regulate land use, I would say that we can give them some idea as to what our thinking is based upon the things that we've seen and things we're experiencing. And we have, one of the things about this commission, I have a wealth of knowledge from the staff, and I commend them for that. I'm not going blind, but I will say that I'm somewhat of a speed reader, and I really appreciate documentation. But I don't ignore it, because when someone takes the time out to provide this kind of research, it's very beneficial, and I must act in a way that shows that I appreciate it. And I think we have a tough challenge ahead.
Chris, do you think that we could involve the liquor store owners in our workshop? Because that's where we're going to get our information. We're going
Absolutely, we can notify
find
them
out.
all.
We can find out what their problems are, and we might find out a lot more than we'd know just by our own research.
Can I modify that? I can see them being in the room with us. That may pose a problem. If there was some mechanism which they could submit their suggestions to the problems and make us aware of the problem, I think that's far more beneficial. It's just like these documents that I read on a regular basis. I will read what they have written and take into account to what they've written.
But when we've had things that involve land use and workshops and things like that, we've involved the realtors and the BIA, and so I just think, I know that you.
We can have a workshop, and I'll be the one that make the list of what everybody should bring for our lunch.
I see the difficulties that Mr. Dew is trying to point out. I mean, it could end up just being an argument of how the city regulates them, and over-regulation, and another fee like Mr. Kurth.
It's not my fault, it's my neighbor's fault.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, I just sell it. They drop it in my parking
Big
lot.
box
They
anchor
drop
over
it
here.
two lots down. I can't help it that they drink it on the way out the door.
Like
you know.
teasers. Huh?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It could be problematic.
Yeah, and you showed us a map too today that has lots and lots of, well over maybe
Seems like
150
a little bit over
dots.
50%.
And then you got this little strip by Palmdale Road and down 7th Street. That's the problem area. You got all these other guys. You think all these other guys are going to come and go, well, what problem? Oh, except now I think you're onto me. You're going to tax me coming out of the gate for all those problems. And, I think maybe we ought to have a meeting of the minds with the city council and how far we really want to go with crackdown, basically.
Yeah, because they're the ones who are going to get the heat. They'll get the heat. We don't get the heat, really. Ultimately, they get the heat.
Okay. Well, I think it would be a benefit to recommend to City Council that we have a joint workshop to discuss this item, and make sure that again, we're all on the same page. We're trying to move forward in the same direction and getting the desired results.
And if it's not exactly this, maybe we focus a little more on something else, and then maybe that time comes to then start involving workshop of
Right.
Sounds good.
certain industries.
Thank you.
Do we have to make a motion for that, or no? Just discussion.
I think the majority, I think we saw
right.
was
All right.
the recommendation.
Now is an opportunity provided for the Planning Commission to present items of interest at this time. Commissioner Dew?
I would just like to state that it's a pleasure in working with my colleagues and doing the work on behalf of the people of the city of Victorville, and that I think we always put forth our best effort, and that's impressive.
Thank you. Commissioner Huber?
No comment.
Commissioner Porter? Commissioner Kurt? And I have nothing. So we'll go ahead and adjourn this meeting to our next meeting, which I believe is September 9th. All right. Yay.
On this picnic, is there a softball game between the city and somebody else? Is that what it is? Yeah. Council and the Planning Commission is the team? The fire department will have the best team because Vance.
Development was second.
Yeah, someone got the bright idea a long time ago to drywall some shelving that's next to some. Spent thousands of dollars redoing